Good evening. Thanks for joining me this Friday. I'm Azlina Najee and these are tonight's headlines. Federal government sues Kelantan over Orang Asli land rights. Cops nab over 140 mule account holders in cyber scam crackdown. And inquest into death of fireman Adib to start next month. Now we begin the bulletin this evening with this story. Putrajaya has filed a civil suit against the Kelantan state government for allegedly violating the land rights of the Temyar Orang Asli community in Gua Musang. Attorney General Tommy Thomas, in a statement today, said the legal action aimed at protecting and promoting the well-being and advancement of the Orang Asli is the first of its kind since Malaysia gained independence. He also said the defendants are the Kelantan State Government, Lands and Mines State Director, the Forestry Department State Director and 5 private entities. The lawsuit is seeking, among others, the legal recognition of the Temyar Orang Asli's native land rights in Pos Simpo, as well as injunctions to restrain private parties from encroaching upon and destroying the native land for commercial profits. Thomas said the beneficiaries of this suit were the Orang Asli and the litigation would be cost-free to them. He added, although the Kelantan state government has jurisdiction over matters relating to land, forestry and mining, it is also bound by the paramount and non-deligible duty to protect and preserve the welfare of the Temyar Orang Asli. In the meantime, the Bukit Aman Commercial Crime Investigation Department, CCID, arrested 145 mule account holders in a 3-week nationwide operation against scammers. The operation targets those involved in cybercrime, including telecommunication, e-commerce, Macau, as well as loan scams. Its acting director, Datuk Saiful Azli Kamarudin, said in 2017, a sum of 437 million ringgit was deposited to various accounts linked with the scam syndicate.
Operasi ini saya limitkan kepada akaun-akaun yang digunakan oleh suspek sebanyak 3 kali ke atas. 3 times and above. Dan kes-kes yang terlibat untuk 2 tahun saja. 90 lelaki, 55 perempuan. 90 males and 55 females between the age of 19 till 63 years old.
The syndicate targets the jobless, drug addicts, social workers, including students. The modus operandi was to transfer a large sum of money into a chosen account, withdrawn soon after. Those willing to let their accounts be used by the scammers are paid between 100 and 300 ringgit if they rent out their ATM cards and bank accounts, while some are even paid between 250 and 550 ringgit if they sold their ATM cards. Transactions entered into mule accounts are typically money earned through fraud such as Macau scam, love scam and parcel scam. However, the police are not ruling out the possibility that some of the account holders were not aware of their bank account being used for the purpose. Now, a 33-year-old Indonesian woman was found naked and murdered in her rented apartment room in Serdang, Selangor at about 5 p.m. yesterday. It is believed the victim, identified as Jamilah Mat Syari, a part-time maid, was robbed and sexually assaulted before her body was discovered by her sister-in-law when she returned home from work. According to Surida Sadrum, aged 34, the victim's body was found on a bed in the room, and the apartment at Taman University Street Kembangan had been ransacked. Some of the victim's personal belongings, such as a cell phone, money and jewellery, were also missing. Serdang District Police Chief ACP Ismadi Borhan said police have found 10 fingerprints inside the apartment. Initial investigation also showed the victim had strangulation marks on her neck, and authorities did not rule out that the victim was murdered earlier during the day. Her remains were sent to Serdang Hospital for autopsy. Over at the courts, a young couple were charged at the Air Keroh Magistrates Court with concealing the death of a child by secretly disposing its body. Now, 20-year-old Muhammad Siddiq Amran and Noor Arisa Khairul Nizam, aged 21, pleaded guilty when the charge was read out before Magistrate Muhammad Firdaus Saleh. The couple were accused of concealing the birth of a baby named Noor Anisa and secretly buried the fetus at a paddy field in Bukit Rambai last Sunday. The offence, under Section 318 of the Penal Code, carries a maximum 2 years in jail, a fine or both. The court allowed bail at 5,000 ringgit each and fixed February 18th for sentencing.
At the Sessions Court, a man was sentenced to 4 years in jail and 2 strokes of the rotan for snatch theft. Earlier, 40-year-old Fadir Ahmad had pleaded guilty when the charge was read out before Judge Norma Ismail. According to the charge sheet, the accused had robbed a clutch bag belonging to a man at Jalan Pesisiran Bunga Raya Pantai, Malacca on December 31st last year. The charge under Section 392 of the Penal Code provides a jail term up to 14 years, a fine and whipping upon conviction.
Now, 6 doctors will be called to testify in an inquest to determine the cause of death of fireman Muhammad Adib Muhammad Qasim. They are among 30 witnesses who will give their statements in the 52-day inquest, which will commence on February 11th. Conducting Officer Hamdan Hamzah told Coroner Rofia Muhammad that the 6 witnesses are medical practitioners who had treated Adib at the Institute Jantung Negara. Rofia also set January 31st to decide whether to allow the Sri Mahamariamman Temple Task Force and the Bar Council to represent or hold a watching brief, while allowing Human Rights Commission lawyer Mansoor Saad to also hold a watching brief. In today's proceedings, the family of Muhammad Adib was requested by a 5-man legal team led by counsel Muhammad Kamur Zaman A. Wahab. Adib, who was attached to the Subang Fire and Rescue Department, was seriously injured after he was attacked by rioters near the Sri Mahamariamman Temple in Subang Jaya in November last year. He succumbed to his injuries on December 17th at the IJN after 21 days. Now, in other news, the Election Commission, EC, has set March 2nd for the Semenyih by-election to be held. Its chairman, Azhar Azizan Harun, said nomination would be on February 16th, while early voting on February 26th. At a press conference in Putrajaya today, Azhar said 54,503 voters are eligible to vote based on the electoral roll until the 3rd quarter of 2018. From that amount, 53,520 are ordinary voters, 951 early voters and 32 absentee voters.
Tempoh berkempen yang ditetapkan adalah 14 hari bermula selepas penamaan calon sehingga pukul 11.59 malam 1 Mac 2019. Bagi PRK ini, SPR mensasarkan 70% pengundi akan keluar mengundi. SPR juga memohon kerjasama semua pihak termasuk pihak media dan parti-parti politik agar turut mengambil langkah untuk menyeru dan menggalakkan pengundi supaya keluar mengundi pada hari mengundi.
He also said the by-election is expected to cost 1.8 million ringgit. Results on the by-election would also be announced on the EC's Facebook page. The Semenyih by-election is the 6th to be held after the 14th general election on May 8th last year. It was called following the death of its assemblyman, Bakhtiar Muhammad Noor, from a heart attack on January 11th. In GE14, Bakhtiar of Parti Pribumi Bersatu Malaysia, Bersatu, won the seat in a 4-cornered fight with a majority of 8,964 votes. Meanwhile, the EC also said that it is not necessary for election candidates to undergo medical examinations. The EC chairman said that making medical examination a condition would require an amendment to the federal constitution.
Memerlukan pindaan perlembagaan persekutuan kalau kita hendak buat demikian. Tetapi saya rasa langkah sedemikian tidak perlu kerana perkara kematian ni kita tidak boleh jangka. Walaupun dia sihat pun dia boleh jadi meninggal juga. Jadi saya rasa langkah tersebut tidak akan dijalankan.
Azhar said this when asked about the need for medical examination, as many of the 6 by-elections held since the 14th general election last May were due to the deaths of the elected representatives. The Home Ministry has vehemently denied links between the change in the Immigration Department's Director General and the cancellation of the 3.5 billion ringgit National Immigration Control System, or SKIN. There have been allegations that the new system, replacing SKIN, was awarded to a different company with connection to the senior officer in the ministry.
Through a statement, Home Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin said the accusation is based on malified intention and could be the work of parties who are dissatisfied with the proposal by the ministry to cancel the SKIN project. He also said that the decision was made after a special committee had re-evaluated the project in detail, which was found to have been approved and awarded to Syarikat Pesta Riang Skin Sendirian Berhad, PSSB, through direct negotiation. Based on the re-evaluation, the committee also found several loopholes on the concession contract and the project implementation. Among them included a lopsided contract whose profit to the company outweighed those of the government's, while the cost of implementation was too high, with limited project implementation scope that do not meet the actual needs of the Immigration Department. Based on these findings, the committee recommended, with the agreement of the Cabinet, for the concession agreement with the PSSB to be ended and replaced with a fully online integrated immigration system known as My IMMS Global. The new system would save the government nearly R1 billion through a more competitive, transparent and fair open tender procurement. The ministry is still developing the scope and specifications of the system, and the final tender document is expected to be completed in April this year. He also confirmed that no company has been awarded the contract, as alleged in a news portal report.
The Malaysian Institute of Road Safety Research, MIROS, has denied ever making a conclusion that road accidents involving motorcyclists could be reduced if lower speed limits were imposed. Now commenting on a blog article entitled 60 km/h motorcycle speed limit, myth proven untrue, MIROS said the journal paper used as reference only states statistics of motorcyclist accidents based on different speed limits. Now, it further stressed that a statement made in the blog on a study conducted by the Institute in 1999 is untrue, as MIROS was only established in 2007. Therefore, claims that the study was used by MIROS to bring down motorcycle speed limit at the time were also untrue. MIROS further advised all road users, including motorcyclists, to comply to the set speed limit for each road, just like other vehicles. Now, when we return, this aroma is not something you want for your cup of joe. Details next, don't go away. Thanks for staying with us. Now, Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad has arrived in London, United Kingdom, for a 3-day working visit after wrapping up his trip to Dakar, Senegal, for an international conference. Now, he also received a special invitation to deliver a speech at the Oxford Union, making him the first Malaysian and ASEAN leader to address the prestigious debating society in Oxford City. The Premier, accompanied by his wife, Tun Dr. Siti Hasmah Muhammad Ali, is scheduled to deliver his speech tonight at 1 a.m. Malaysian time. He will join other world leaders of the past who had addressed the world's famous debating society, including former United States Presidents Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon, as well as former British Prime Minister Winston Churchill and Margaret Thatcher. The 3-day trip to the UK is his second working visit to the country since taking office in May last year. Now, earlier, Tun Dr. Mahathir emphasised the importance of democracy as a system of governance as one of the factors that bring about peace and stability, as well as propel the country for a more rapid development. Addressing a conference in Dakar, Senegal, the Prime Minister also stressed the importance of attracting foreign investors for development.
To the
Tun Dr. Mahathir said peace and stability from within allowed Malaysia to develop much faster, adding that the fruits of democracy could only be attained if the people understood the power of a vote. The Premier stated this when sharing the Malaysian experience toward development during the high-level dialogue session at the 3rd International Conference on the Emergence of Africa at the Abu Dhabi International Conference Centre. Also in the panel was Senegal President Macky Sall and Mali President Boubacar Keïta. In a separate dialogue session, Tun Dr. Mahathir also touched on the importance of cooperation between the government and the private sector.
It is quite clear that antagonism between government and private sector is not something that will help a country or a government. Cooperation with the private sector or the Malaysia Incorporated concept helps the whole country to develop very, very fast.
Speaking afterwards at a press conference, Tun Dr. Mahathir urged Malaysian companies to seize the opportunity to invest in natural resources-rich Africa. He said the opportunity has long been seen by European countries, including Turkey and China. Now moving on, the apology by Goldman Sachs is not sufficient and it has to make reparation and compensation to Malaysia considering its partner's role in the One Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB scandal. Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng said the apology was necessary for this country and its people, but Goldman Sachs must also bear and show its responsibility.
And that apology, of course, goes some way towards that. But that is insufficient. Necessary, but not sufficient. And only when you pay reparations and compensations, will that be sufficient. And we hope that they have made provisions of around $561 million US, and that's not adequate. We are seeking 7.5 billion US.
Lim added Goldman must be accountable as this also involved a breach of financial duty where the banking industry had the obligation to make good the losses that Malaysia had suffered. Goldman Sachs Group Inc. Chief Executive Officer David Solomon on Wednesday apologized to the Malaysian people for the role of a former banker at the firm played in the 1MDB scandal. Goldman helped arrange $6.5 billion US in bonds for 1MDB, and Malaysia had filed criminal charges against the bank and 2 former employees for alleged theft. The Felda Land Development Authority, Felda, today denied allegations of a delay in the late distribution of arrears to its settlers. In a statement, Felda explained that all claims by settlers for the 77 million ringgit allocation that was approved by the Pakatan Harapan government in December had already been distributed as of January 14th. The allocation is to help Felda settlers with subsistence as well as advances for replanting to settle outstanding payments, which include arrears for land development operation. Responding to settlers' complaints brought up by Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng, Felda further explained that they were in reference to the payment of revenue. This, it added, was paid to settlers based on oil palm sales at the end of the month from the financial resources of the board rather than from the government's special provisions as claimed. Lim earlier said that the delay should not have occurred as the allocation of 77 million ringgit was approved by the federal government on December 20th last year. Now it's time for our daily segment Clickbait, where we look at what's trending and making rounds in the cyber world today. Previous cases of food contamination at food restaurants and manufacturers are really raising questions about the standards of cleanliness for the places that produce and provide food in Malaysia. Reports are piling up, and a recent case in Butterworth, Penang, has forced authorities to shut down a processing factory for 2 weeks. Rat droppings were found among coffee beans, a contamination probably hard to detect at a well-known coffee brand factory. NST Online described the condition at the factory as disgusting. A team from North Seberang Perai District Health Department, Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry and Penang Islamic Religious Department raided the place yesterday following a tip-off. The authorities claimed that they had a tough time distinguishing the droppings from the beans as they looked almost the same. The feces were also found near the walls. After a thorough inspection of the place, the coffee company, which had been operating for 69 years, was ordered to close for 2 weeks pending re-inspection that it will if it complies with the cleanliness standards. During the closure, it was only allowed to perform cleaning work. Now, child deaths from being left inside hot cars are not uncommon, happening several times a year. Cars locked and left in the hot sun can quickly turn into death traps, and any children locked inside can quickly experience vehicular heat stroke. Recently, a post circulated online exposed an irresponsible father who had left his daughter locked in the car out on a sunny day in Taman Midah Ceras. The post, uploaded on January 16th, detailed how this one netizen came across a little girl trapped in a white Nissan car parked outside a supermarket. The girl was sweating and crying from the unbearable heat and was unable to exit the vehicle as both the windows and doors were locked. The netizen then quickly sought out a security guard and got the management to make a public announcement. It was only then did a man appear and saw a crowd of people around his car who took notice of the poor child. The man quickly got into the car and sped off, escaping judgment. And indeed, netizens were left outraged. Some even suggested that someone should have just smashed the windows and saved the child.